So I'm seeing the One Piece community on fire right now. I'm seeing all sorts of people going at it left and right over some recent information that revealed. And I'm over here in my little corner just thinking, yo, with that latest chapter though, all of this insanity, One Piece's greatness right now. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the latest chapter of One Piece got me on a high. I've been on a high from it all freaking week since I read it because there was just so much to one chapter. Sometimes I really question, like, how does Oda do it? How does he add so much lore, so much world building, so much characterization, character development, all sorts of stuff? He compacts it into one chapter. It doesn't feel like an info dump. It doesn't feel like an exposition dump. It doesn't feel boring by any means. Like, he really knows how to masterfully tell a story, tell multiple subplots, all sorts of stuff, and still deliver at a high quality on every form and facet when it comes to this manga. And fam, there's a lot to talk about because one of the biggest things that I've definitely have seen here and there around the community is people saying that One Piece is somewhat going the route of like a Naruto. And what I mean by that is in terms of, you know how Naruto started off about like basically like this knuckleheaded ninja that, you know, he doesn't have any sort of ties to anything, and by the end of this he's the reincarnation of some gods that were fighting for a long time. I've seen some people saying that it seems like One Piece is going down that route, considering we've had some very big reveals of these people, these characters, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, the big three of One Piece, basically having ties in one form or another to some great and humongous things. We're gonna get into it because I feel like while there's some truth to, yes, that is something crazy that has recently happened, like it's facts that, hey, Luffy is potentially tied to Joyboy, Zoro's potentially tied to Ryuma, Sanji might be a freaking cyborg. Well, I guess that would deepen the bonds between him and Frankie, but you know, and a Lunarian. Like, there's a lot there. Ultimately, hasn't the Will of D and the connection to like ancestors and great people from the past been around for quite some time now? So what's new? What just happened recently that is different than anything that One Piece has had foundation from for chapters upon chapters, years upon years? So we gotta talk because there was just so much insanity. Sanji and Zoro versus Queen and King. Oh my god, just everything about this chapter. But that ending though, that ending, whoa, talk about missing out on your childhood. Without further ado, people, I'm not gonna waste any more of your time. We gonna talk a little bit about that One Piece greatness. Let's do it, baby. No matter how you move, get it done. 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 Okay, so off the rip, cover page of VV, hands down, I felt like that was mainly done to promote the upcoming, or I believe it's already released, the one-shot of the VV chapter. You know, it's kind of like a little spin-off one-shot chapter that's done by the creator of Nisekoi, or I want to say maybe it was like guided by Oda. I'm sure Oda's not going to say, hey, write stories about my characters that I have no involvement with. So I'm sure Oda had some type of hand in the creation of that. But yeah, I'm guessing that that was like cross-promotion. Smart, makes sense, nice cover, VV looking good. It's been a while. I wouldn't mind an update on VV and the whole situation that happened during the summit. But yeah, cool cover page. But move that shit aside because it jumped straight back into the greatness and epicness. Oda was not playing because it starts off, we see Sanji and Zoro standing there, the aftermath of them just starting on beasting on King and Queen, the debris, everything there. And I'm just like, yo, it feels almost like this is the storyboard for the anime, because honestly, everybody keeps on telling me, and I've seen little glimpses here or there, little clips and whatnot, that the anime is busting right now. The anime is on a high, and it seems like Oda is making sure to play into that because, again, it felt like almost cinematic in a way, the way the chapter starts, and you just see, again, like the debris with Zoro and Sanji there, and yeah, this is going to be a massive high. Like, when the anime gets to this point, people are going to start screaming yet again because this shit is insane. And we see King and Queen laid out on the floor, which it was nice to see. I mean, granted, they weren't laid out because at the end of the day, they're still, you know, wide awake, and it was just kind of like, you know, you fall over, but you don't hurt yourself or anything like that. It's like a freak accident, essentially. Kind of like that. Like, they're on the ground, but they're like, oh, Oh. And by no means should this fight against King and Queen be even remotely easy. So yes, I was like happy, like, oh, okay, like, you know, they got their first shots in on them, but yeah, this is going to be a long, hard, tooth and nail fight. And I also like how they're removing the fodder, because this is a big battle. I don't want none of these, and there's granted a lot of people running around, so Oda made sure to explain away anything of like, oh, why aren't the fodder people jumping in, because somebody was targeting Zoro, and immediately Kawamatsu was like, oh, no, we're not doing that right now, fam, and knocks the dude out, because yeah, the small fry need to stay out of this. This is a big battle right now. We don't need no little fodder. Oh, I was once a part of the animal kingdom. Get the fuck out of here with that shit right now. This is the big dogs, big players only, real G's, real ones are only allowed in this battle, baby. And even on the allied side of the people that, you know, betrayed the animal kingdom, Hyogoro's like, yo, y'all stay out of this. This is not for us. This is a next level battle. You could tell just from their eyes that they don't want any interruptions. They don't need any interruptions right now. This is some serious shit. So again, making sure that we're not going to have any interruptions. We're not going to have any excuses as to why whatever happens in this fight. Good shit, because I want a real battle, and I think right now, based on what we saw in this chapter, we're in store for that. One of the first pieces of gold, because this chapter, honestly, I would argue it was 11 out of 10 status. Like, there was just so much to this chapter. Just me reading this right now, going through my notes and saying, oh shit, I forgot this happened too. Marco thinking back to a drunken conversation that Whitebeard had with him, but you know what they say, sober thoughts on a drunken tongue or some shit like that. Drunken tongue equals sober thoughts or whatever, because basically Whitebeard must have been like that type of person that, hey, he gets drunk and he starts spilling secrets all over the place. Because it starts off with Marco questioning Whitebeard, saying, what do you mean on top of the red line is Marijoa, which, you know, that's the whole palace where the Gorosei and Aim and all of them stay at. So, you know, he was questioning him like, what are you talking about? Because I'm imagining Whitebeard started off by saying, hey, yo, some crazy shit was over there. To which Whitebeard replies, I'm talking long before that. From what I hear, there used to be a land of gods up there. Now, let's take into consideration, we know that it looks like the Gorosei and everything that's been hidden, for that matter, about, you know, the Void Sentry and all that jazz. The Gorosei, and especially Aim, because Aim is looking like endgame boss, even above Blackbeard, above anything that we know right now. It looks like Aim is the one that's really the evil of this world. It's almost as if you could, you know, to break it down to something very simplistic, if that was the land where gods were on top of the red line over there, and now Aim and the Gorosei are rocking up there, it's potential that you could call them devils. They're truly the evil. So as simple as you could look at it as, oh hey, the bad guys potentially won and removed the gods from their thrones and now are, you know, standing atop and hid the history, which, Oda, I see your mind. I see your mind. I get it. I get it. Although I think it's more so referring to like Japanese history and things like that. But basically saying that like, yo, yeah, there's a lot more to the Void Sentry than you could even imagine, considering the fact that if this was gods up there, what happened to the gods? Why are there now these 5 old motherfuckers and a creep behind the scenes that are running up there? Basically, devils replace gods. And Marco was like, you know, he at the time probably brushed it off as, you're not talking like the pops I know, because again, Whitebeard probably got drunk and would tell his kids like, yo, let me tell you about this crazy shit that happened. And the kids, you know, they like, oh, dad is drunk again. Like, nah, like, you know, you're not gonna really think about it too much, because you're just gonna think dad is drunk. You get older, you get to where Marco's at in life. Marco's looking back like, dad was saying some real shit right here, because we're fighting some devils right now. And then Izo, I never remember how to pronounce that name properly, basically asked Marco like, yo, get up, come on, wake up. To which Marco replies, yo, Izo, do you believe in gods? And Izo's like, oh, you talking like pops right now. Now you talking like pops with that drunk shit. Like, what's going on here? Which means that, like I said, Whitebeard used to disperse these drunken rants to his children and to anybody around when he would probably be, you know, drunk. And I ain't gonna lie, I was a little bit disappointed when we cut away from that. Don't get me wrong, the chapter needed it, and it was just like, I couldn't believe Oda packed all of this in, but I was like, I want to know more about those gods up there, and what else did Whitebeard disperse? What other information, what other golden nuggets did he tell his children about shit back in the day, the Void Sentry and all that shit? Like, but Queen is back up running his mouth. Queen is back up talking shit like, oh, I hope you don't think you stand a chance right now. Basically, you know, it's going to be Queen that is going to be the interesting mouthpiece between the two of them. Like King, you know, King is just like really, really strong, has a very creepy look and very interesting past and backstory about, you know, these deities that were, you know, flamed up on top of the red line and shit like that. So it kind of makes me wonder, wow, I wonder if there's any possibility of a connection between King and those gods that used to be up there. What if King is essentially a descendant of gods? And to be honest with you, the story is really heading in that direction of a lot of these people that we're looking at now in the story are descendants of greatness. Again, like we'll talk about it in a bit. If Zoro's a descendant of Ryuma, if Luffy is a descendant of Joyboy, or even dare I say Roger. Maybe Roger, when he laughed, is because he saw a picture of himself laughing and he kind of started hysterically laughing. Maybe Luffy, when we get another time skip, is going to look just like Roger. Maybe we're just on a time loop of some sorts. I know people don't like time loop shit. I get it. But yo, if that's the case, then again, King could be a walking god right here, or a walking descendant of God. And let's not even get into the, again, which we will at some given point, Sanji being potentially a Lunarian. But Queen continued to talk shit. We ain't even feel that. And they start clapping back at Sanji, and Sanji having to jump out the way. And Zoro's like, yo, what's going on with you, fam? What's up? Which Sanji has been off for a long time, but apparently that suit that he put on, the Germa suit, had an after effect to him that kind of changed him. Which, you think about it, right? It's just like training, for example. Let's just say if you train in some type of armor, after you take off the armor, like perfect example, Dragon Ball Z, when Goku or Piccolo would have the weighted clothing, when they would take it off, they would be going crazy fast, whatever, but they knew what they were doing. They knew that, hey, I got weighted clothing. When I take these shits off, I'm going to be able to jump higher than I could. I'm going to be able to run faster than I could because I was training with weighted clothing. So him having the suit on, whatever it was, whether it be the weight of it, whether it be the body maneuvers, whatever it may be, ultimately that allowed Sanji to be able to learn, or his body, let's just say his instincts, again, thinking back to like Dragon Ball Z, Ultra Instinct, like basically Sanji's body learned to move in a way that probably he wasn't able to beforehand. And that's why he tells Zoro, like, I don't know, I'm off, but not in a bad way. Like ever since I wore that suit, like I've been off, but again, not thinking like, oh, I feel like I'm sluggish, or it's just basically his body is moving in a way that he's not used to, so he feels thrown off. His equilibrium is out of whack. And I love how, like, at the very least, Oda in this battle is keeping it equal between the two of them, because Zoro's like, boom, saved you owe me one. And then Sanji right back, boom, saved you, we're even now between King and Queen. And I also love how the fandom has been since like day one pretty much saying, oh, Zoro's gonna fight King and Sanji's gonna fight Queen, and Oda made that happen. I mean, there was some people that were saying, yo, Zoro versus Jack would be fire, but obviously we see that ever since Jack went over there and terrorized Inugarashi and Nekomamushi's, homeland and whatnot, it kind of felt more appropriate for them, the Sulong, so to speak, to handle that situation, and for, again, Zoro and Sanji to handle the other two generals, the three calamities. And then here's where one of the first examples of the big three, we get a little bit more into this whole thing of potentially these big connections that they may have, because Queen starts talking to Sanji saying, hey, you, son of Judge, because Queen loves to be disrespectful. He knows now that Sanji don't want to hear that shit, like, Judge ain't nobody to me, but he's going to continue on to kind of, put salt on the wound of that whole family situation. And he's like, yo, I heard all you kids is Cyborg. Is that burning leg a machine part? So essentially it's giving us exposition of, okay, so this is something, an idea to have in our minds, but at the same time is also potentially building something even further. Again, these connections, to which Sanji replies, no, I'm all human. And then Queen replies, wait, you think humans can like make their legs go on fire or shit like that? Which, I'll be honest with you, that is something that I've thought of for a long time. Like, I just put it to the back of my mind of, it's One Piece, like he's just moving his leg so damn fast that it's going on fire. But I did for many years, to be honest with you, I'm just keeping it so real, I always thought like, why is his leg, like, it didn't cross my mind about the whole Cyborg connection of like, hey, the Germa and the modifications that were done and all that stuff. That never really crossed my mind as to why his leg would be on fire, although that obviously sounds so easy to put together. But I always thought that like his leg can go on fire. Like Zoro, it's kind of freaky that he could put a sword between his teeth, but that's, physically somewhat, I guess, not really possible, but it's more believable than somebody that their leg can go on fire and they go, Diable Jamble. So when Queen put it like that, it kind of dawned on me like, oh shit, there's more to Sanji. Like, it seems as though throughout the series, Sanji's backstory has kept on getting tenfold. Like, it started off him and Owner Zephyr dying, eating legs and shit like that. Boom. Then it moves from that to, oh shit, his whole family was pieces of shit. He was chained up. He's connected to these Vinsmoke Judge, the Germa 66, like a lot of really scary shit. And then now, boom, potentially Sanji himself is something different entirely than what we originally thought, which also could lead to a lot of the interesting things about him. How, like, remember going back to Fishman Island, holy shit, now that I think about it, maybe there was more to it than it being comedic comedic of him having the nosebleeds. Maybe it's something to do with his genetics or what he is, why he had such a hard nosebleed that, again, it felt like, oh, you're having the comedy bleed into the serious nature. Maybe it's something to do with who he is, if he's a Lunarian or, you know, a cyborg or whatever the case may be. Maybe his, like, you know, processors within him kind of overloaded or something. Maybe Judge did something funny with him when he was, you know, modifying him, that, yeah, when he gets such an overabundance of love or joy for the opposite sex, it makes him incapacitated. I know that's kind of crazy to think, but that actually adds up. And the last thing that Queen did say is, I know you ain't a Lunarian, which a Lunarian, I actually looked it up because I was a little bit, wait, what's a Lunarian? Lunar, moon? Lunarian is basically inhabitant of the moon, basically somebody that's from the moon, which I still hope at some given point, whether it be after Wano or whatever, we go to the moon and we run into an L. Eneru! I want to see that shit, and that'll be fire as well. Throw Sanji against him, fire versus electricity, why not? Or thunder, or lightning, whatever. And then Queen responding yet again, which kind of more so pushes the idea of there's something, whether Sanji's a Lunarian cyborg or something there. Maybe he was a cyborg created from parts of Lunarians that had fallen from the sky or some shit like that. I don't know. But when Queen says, let me show you the power of a cyborg even Vegapunk can't create, it's almost as if Queen is certain, like, oh no, you're a cyborg just like me. Which, man, I'm not gonna lie, I would love to go back and see if there's any, like, type of, you know, camaraderie that, if you take a closer look between Frankie and Sanji, would, like, connect the dots that Sanji is, like, you know, part cyborg. Because, again, you know, Frankie's a cyborg of the crew, and now potentially Sanji is as well. Or, again, a Lunarian, which a Lunarian probably has genetic makeup similar to somebody as a cyborg. But then we cut to Zoro versus King, and this definitely rocked the One Piece community hands down, Zoro versus King, because, you know, everybody's always arguing about, like, oh, swordsman this, swordsman that. Just because you have a sword doesn't make you a swordsman. And I think King versus Zoro, especially the very beginnings of it in this chapter, showcased and demonstrated that, yeah, sword in your hand doesn't make, like, if I picked up a sword right now and just started swinging, like, look at me lads, I got a fucking sword, doesn't mean, oh, yo, ForneverWorld, he's a swordsman, you know what I'm saying? Because as they're clashing, all of a sudden King is like, boom, punches Zoro straight in the face, and Zoro, all he could say really is, touche, like, there's no honor with you about it, because you're not claiming, you've never said, hey, I'm King, the number one swordsman of a bird motherfuckers, a bird man, bird boy, bird people, bird person. I don't know why I just started calling him all sorts of birds, but yeah, he never claimed to be a swordsman, so yeah, having a sword doesn't make you a swordsman. Oh my god, the One Piece community is probably in shambles after that whole exchange, because now they overthinking everything. Mihawk versus Shanks, like, what's going on here? But I ain't gonna lie, Zoro sounded badass as hell. As cool as Sanji's moment was, this line right here from Zoro had me like, yo, when he said, you know, by the end of this fight, I might rip your neck out with my teeth. I was like, oh my god, I gotta use that the next time I'm pissed off at somebody. That was fire. I've never even said something close to something like that. I'll rip your neck off with my teeth. Like, my god, Zoro, my god. And then, building off the back of what we were just talking about, you know, people being connected to some sort of deity or some sort of greatness from beyond, now Kawamatsu is telling Hyogoro, like, yo, when Hiyori gave Enma to Zoro, there was a reason why I couldn't stop her from doing that, because ideally you'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? You giving Enma to him? No, that's not happening, but he didn't, and yeah, it once again connects the dots to, it seems like the big three of the Straw Hats are connected to greatness. Because Hyogoro says, yeah, I know what you're saying. He's the spitting image of Shimotsuki Ushimaru in his youth, who was a descendant of Ryuma, the god of the blade. Ryuma, you remember all the way back to Thriller Bark. My god, Oda, how? How, Oda, how? How are you doing this, connecting shit to Thriller Bark? Oh. Yo, they talk about peak fiction, fam. We're 1,000+ chapters in, and he's connecting shit back to the 300s and shit that you thought was, oh, it's comedic, Thriller Bark was funny. No. And then you add to that about how this is all fate, which I could see some people having, to a certain degree, a problem with the whole fate thing, because fate is definitely starting to be a big thing about the story. I think, granted, that's because of the fact of the length, so it's going to feel like, damn, this has to be fate, because then also you add to the fact that Zoro returns Shisui the blade back to Wano, and on top of all that, that Ryuma was a one-eyed samurai, one-eyed swordsman. So yeah, definitely feels like there's some type of, whether it be that he's in the lineage, he's a descendant descendant, or he's just a reincarnation, which I more so hope that it's like a, you know, maybe he's related blood-wise and not necessarily like the reincarnation, because it would be kind of crazy if Luffy's the reincarnation of Joyboy, Zoro is the reincarnation of Ryuma, and Sanji is the reincarnation of some great deity Lunarian or some shit, or potentially even related to Vegapunk or some shit like that. Like, I don't know how I feel about them necessarily being like, you know, reincarnation, so to speak, because there's still the possibility, who knows, Roger ate the reincarnation no me fruit, and Luffy is actually just Roger reliving life again. I know there's gonna be some people saying, oh my god, this is why ForneverWorld's so fucking stupid, blah 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 blah. Shut the fuck up, I'm having fun. And then yet again, more stuff, and none of this feels like it's being short-lived, because you know it's gonna continue on, because then we cut to Jack versus Inu. I'm just like, Dogstorm going crazy. But fam, I was just there like, holy shit, because it starts off, you see Jack there, and Jack is like basically talking down to him like, yo, it's okay, I forgive you. You let your homeland fall to ruin for a samurai. It's alright, fam. Just go take a nap. I know you tired. I bendito. Like, yo, Jack, you were talking a lot of smack for what happens after the fact, and that's usually the case. The dude that's talking the most smack usually gets fucked up really bad, because then he grabs Jack by his tusk, because, I don't know, I've never been a fan of him being in that form. I always like it when he's in his regular buff form. I mean, granted, that's supposed to be, you know, his own power is supposed to be stronger than his normal base form, but I just liked his base form better. And he grabs him by his tusk and swings him, and it was just like, yo, because Inu goes back into his Sulong form because there's a hole open in the roof, and that shit was that was dope. I ain't gonna lie. Again, it feels now the way everything has fallen into place, it does make more sense, like for Jack to not fight Zoro or Sanji, to fight these people that he ruined their homeland. Like, they got a vendetta, they got a beef, and I'm glad also that even though it seemed like it was skipped last time where they all jumped him all the Sulong, now we're getting a little bit more of a demonstration of, yo, this is the final one, this is how it's going down. You getting your ass kicked by Dogstorm, you getting your ass whipped, baby. Jack the Calamity is your bitch ass on the ground, motherfucker. And very elegant little speech at the end by Dogstorm. I ain't gonna lie, like, I know I'm just fanboying out, I don't give a shit. It is what it is. One Piece's greatness, and his final little speech of, only by winning this fight will dawn come to the world, because yeah, it's like Kaido is a big centerpiece to all of this. If him and his crew fall down, especially with Big Mom on top of it, Blackbeard is the only ones left. Blackbeard is pretty much, and of course the world government, but you know, I don't know how the hell that's all going to go down. I hope, and again, I'm jumping all over the place, but I hope that there is a time skip in between. Let's just say after this one, we either have a time skip then, or we fight Blackbeard and then have another time skip. Before the war against the world government, I want Luffy and them to be aged up by another 5 to 10. I'm just saying. And then we get even another battle, which it seems like things are starting to get wrapped up. Maybe this time around we're really going to the end, because it's been like a few fake outs from Oda. And what I mean by fake outs, don't get it twisted, we're not talking about fairy tale, we're not talking about none of that type of stuff. I'm talking about fake outs of feeling like the arc is wrapping up, and then, oh no, more stuff is happening, which all has made sense and everything, but like now it really feels like it, because again, we just spoke that Jack got his ass whipped by Sulong form, Dogstorm, then boom, we got Nekomamushi in his Sulong form, and he knocked out Perospero, and the way he was talking to Perospero, which rightfully so, like, Pedro went down, and yeah, Perospero had to pay for it, because he's like, you lick butthole, this will be the last moon you ever see. I think you say you lick spittle or some shit, but it just sounds way more funny. Imagine you there about to get destroyed by this lion, tiger looking motherfucker, and he looks at you and says, you lick butthole. The only part of the chapter that, I mean, it has to happen, we gotta see it, I wish it would have been more resolved, but that we saw that I wasn't too fond of. It wasn't like the most exciting, and not much really happened other than, I guess it was used as foreshadowing now that I think about it. Was Raizo versus Orochi's mans with the big ears, whatever the fuck his name is, I don't care to remember it, to be honest with you, but the Raizo versus him, that whole section, which was only about like a page or two, but that was definitely just to add more foreshadowing and add more into the whole idea of how things are going to play out, because he starts talking shit to Raizo like, oh, you guys are so pathetic, ever since the death of Odin, y'all reduced to following a child, and that's going to be resolved, which honestly opens the doors for the fact that Yamato doesn't have to stay in Wano. If this kid, which, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it in a second, seemingly Momonosuke is 28 years old now, he can pretty much rule over, or at the very least act for the next 10 years, because he's still going to have the mind that he had as a child. He can act as the ruler in physical form, and even to a certain degree with having his advisors. Just in general, he can can be the ruler of Wano once all is said and done. Yamato doesn't need to stay behind. She could go off a la Odin with the Straw Hats. And I feel like that was just adding more to it of like, oh no, but they don't have a child leader anymore. Now he's, 28. Because we cut to the end, that is, oh my god, looking so amazing. That shit look hype as hell. Luffy next to a giant dragon. All these people are like, yo, oh my god, it's Kaido again. Whoa! And going back to flashbacks of, god damn, yo, I've been doing this for so long. I just have flashbacks of my own life of what I was doing back when we first got introduced to Momonosuke and he was in his little pink dragon form and shit like that. That was what, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 9 years ago, some crazy shit like that. Like, that was a long ass time ago, but it was kind of giving a demonstration of, that was Momo then, this is Momo now, because Luffy's like, Momo? He's like, bet fam, let's do it. Although there's a tragedy within it, and at the same time, justification. And what I mean by that is tragedy that one way or another, this kid's childhood was getting stolen from him. He already had his father killed, his mother died, all sorts of stuff. He had to jump through time, and then, he dealt with everything in the current timeline that's happened with him. So Momonosuke has had his childhood ripped metaphorically, and then now literally, because he's lost, 20 years of his life. How old was Momo? 8, 10, some shit like that. So he just lost it both metaphorically and physically, which really sucks because that's going to be hard on him to adjust. And also, it's going to be hilarious when he tries to jump into Nami's boobs and she's like, you're a grown-ass man, get the fuck off me. But at the same time, it's justified because he's supposed to be this age. Remember, they jumped through the time portal and all this shit, and he stood as a kid. All these years passed since then. He's technically supposed to be around this age, if I'm not mistaken, so it kind of balances itself out, but then it doesn't at the same time, and it's just all around. Momo's life is still a tragedy. Even if they defeat and win, and he rules over Wano in place of, leading from where his father left off and everything, it's still very sad. It's still fucked up. And we even get that little flashback, which I can't wait till he leaves that dragon form, of Shinobu saying, my lord, you look just like, which I'm imagining he looks just like Odin, right? Unless they're gonna say you look just like your mother or some shit, which would also be dope. But the end of that chapter, fam, and Luffy's like, come on, man, let's take back Wano. That was, honestly, the amount of things we just talked about in this video, very long video. I don't even know how, when it's all said and done, edited down, how long this is going to be, but probably close to a half an hour, I'm guessing. Very curious what you guys think about it. For starters, I guess the big thing of it all, this whole reincarnation or descendant, what do you take of all of this? Of Luffy potentially being connected to, or being Joyboy, maybe even Roger, that's just more so something that I've stuck with for a while. Zoro's connections to Ryuma, Sanji with the Lunarians, and possibly being a cyborg. Your thoughts on all of this? Momo losing his childhood but becoming 28 years old and having this new dragon form. I can't wait to see dragon versus dragon. It'll be like Pokemon battles or some shit up in this bitch. And your thoughts and expectations. Honestly, this was phenomenal. 11 out of 10 chapter. I don't understand how Oda manages to do it without it feeling a certain way, because it felt great pacing and just all around so many things to discuss. Zoro and Sanji versus King and Queen, just amazing. It honestly feels like this time around, for real, Wano is getting close to wrapping up and we're heading towards the end. And your overall thoughts and expectations for the One Piece manga with chapter 10, 24, and beyond. One Piece greatness. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life, boy! Have an awesome day. Peace in. And you just watched another episode of ForneverWorld talking about One Piece greatness. Have an awesome one. So just go to